The front door slammed shut. Lock clicked. David Morgan stood on the porch with everything he owned in 2 garbage bags. "You're 18 now. Figure it out yourself. I'm done." His father's voice came through the door. Cold, final, no emotion. It was June 7th, 1973. David had graduated high school 2 days earlier. Thought maybe things would get better. They didn't. His father had been drinking for 15 years, since David's mother died when David was 3. The drinking got worse every year. The beatings got worse. The rage got worse. David had survived by staying quiet, staying out of the way, counting down the days until 18, until he could leave legally. He didn't expect his father to kick him out the day he turned 18, but maybe he should have. David stood on that porch in rural Illinois, 2 garbage bags, $17 in his pocket. No plan, no place to go, no family who cared. He was completely alone. David walked, didn't know where, just walked, away from that house, away from 18 years of hell, towards something, anything. 3 miles down the road he saw a farm auction. Signs said, "Peterson Estate Sale, everything must go." David stopped, watched farmers bidding on equipment, tractors, implements, tools, livestock. An old man stood next to David. "You looking to buy something, son?" "No, sir. Just got $17. Can't buy much with that." The old man studied him. 2 garbage bags. Clothes dirty, face showing exhaustion. "You got a place to stay?" "No, sir. Just got kicked out. Walking to town. Gonna figure something out." "What's your name?" "David Morgan." "I'm Bill Henderson. I farm about 2 miles east. Need a farmhand. Pay's not great. $40 a week plus room in the bunkhouse and 3 meals. Interested?" David couldn't believe it. "Yes, sir. Absolutely yes." "Good. Stay here. Watch the auction. See if anything good sells cheap. I'll be back in an hour." Bill walked off to talk with other farmers. David watched the auction continue. Most equipment sold for hundreds or thousands of dollars. Way beyond what David could afford. Then Lot 47 came up. 1952 Oliver 70 tractor. Green paint faded, rust spots, missing 1 fender, seat torn, tires worn. Auctioneer started bidding at 500. Nobody bid, dropped to 300. Nothing. 200. Still nothing. "Come on, folks, this tractor runs. It's worth something. Who'll give me 100? One farmer bid 100. Another went 125. First guy went 150. Second guy dropped out. 150 going once, twice. Anyone else? David didn't know why he did it, just instinct. 175. Everyone turned to look. Young kid with garbage bags bidding on a tractor. First farmer went 200. Auctioneer looked at David. "You got 225? David had $17. Couldn't go 225, but he called out anyway. 200 is my final offer. Cash, right now." Auctioneer looked at the other farmer. "You going 225? Farmer shook his head. "Not worth it. Let the kid have it." Sold to the young man for $200. David's stomach dropped. He'd just bought a tractor for $200 he didn't have. What was he thinking? Bill Henderson walked back over. "Did you just buy that, Oliver?" "Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I don't know why I bid. I only have $17. I can't pay for it." Bill looked at the Oliver, then at David. "Tell you what, I'll loan you the $183 you need. You work it off. $5 a week from your pay until it's paid back. Deal?" "You'd do that?" "I would. That Oliver needs work, but it's solid. You can use it on my farm. Learn to fix it. Learn to farm. Pay me back over time. Sound good?" "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir." Bill paid the auction house. David officially owned a 1952 Oliver 70 tractor. Bought for $200, financed by a man he'd met 20 minutes earlier. David moved into Bill's bunkhouse that afternoon. Small room, single bed, bathroom down the hall, nicer than anywhere David had ever lived. Bill farmed 400 acres, corn and soybeans, had two other tractors, a John Deere and an International. The Oliver would be third tractor. First thing you're going to learn is how to fix that Oliver. Engine's good but needs maintenance. Hydraulics leak. Electrical's shot. We'll rebuild it together. Teach you mechanics. Over the next 3 months, David and Bill rebuilt the Oliver completely. Drained all fluids, changed oil, hydraulic fluid, coolant, replaced hoses, fixed electrical wiring, rebuilt carburetor, adjusted valves, greased every fitting, replaced the torn seat, straightened bent sheet metal. David learned everything: how engines work, how hydraulics function, how electrical systems connect, how to diagnose problems, how to fix them cheaply. By September, the Oliver ran perfectly, looked rough cosmetically but mechanically sound. Bill taught David to farm, how to plow, how to disc, how to plant, how to cultivate, how to harvest. David worked hard, 18-hour days during planting and harvest. Never complained, never slacked, just worked. Bill noticed. "You're a good worker, David. Best hand I've ever had." "Thank you, sir. You gave me a chance when nobody else would. I won't let you down." By end of 1973, David had paid back the $183 loan, owned the Oliver free and clear, had saved $200 from his $40 weekly wage. Bill called David into his office December 20th. "David, I want to talk about next year. I'm getting old, 72 next month. Can't keep up like I used to. Want to make you foreman, $60 a week. You manage the farm day to day. I oversee. Deal?" "Deal. Thank you, Bill. You've earned it." 1974 through 78, David worked as Bill's foreman, managed the 400-acre operation, hired seasonal workers, maintained equipment, made planting decisions, handled grain sales. Bill taught David the business side: budgeting, cash flow, marketing, risk management. Everything about running a farm profitably. David saved aggressively, lived cheap in the bunkhouse, spent almost nothing. By end of 78, had saved $11,000. In January 79, Bill got sick. Cancer. Doctors said 6 months maybe. Bill called David in. "I'm dying. No kids, no wife. Farm's going to auction when I pass. Wanted you to know." David was devastated. Bill had been more of a father than his real father ever was. "Is there anything I can do?" "Yeah. There is. I'm changing my will, leaving you the Oliver and $10,000. Use it to start your own operation. You've earned it." "Bill, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I want to. You saved my life these past 6 years, kept the farm going, kept me going. This is the least I can do." Bill died April 19th, 79. David was 24. Felt like he'd lost his real father. At the will reading, David inherited the Oliver tractor and $10,000 cash. Bill's farm went to auction, generated $400,000, went to charity. Bill specified. David was alone again. But this time, he had $21,000 saved plus $10,000 inherited, plus a fully rebuilt Oliver tractor, plus 6 years of farming experience. He could start his own operation. David found 80 acres for sale outside of Peoria. Asking price, $64,000. David offered $58,000 cash. Seller accepted. David paid $40,000 down. Financed $18,000. Monthly payment, $320. May 79, David owned 80 acres. One Oliver tractor, $21,000 remaining cash for operating costs. He was a farmer. First year was brutal. David farmed alone, no employees, just him and the Oliver. Plowed, planted, cultivated, harvested, everything himself. Gross income, $16,000. Operating costs, $8,000. Debt service, $3,840. Net, $4,160. David lived on $2,000, saved $2,160, plus the $21,000 from before. Total savings, $23,160. Year 2 through 5, similar pattern. David worked alone, saved aggressively, built capital. By end of 83, David had saved $62,000 while paying down his mortgage to $8,000 remaining. The Oliver, still running. David maintained it religiously, changed oil every 100 hours, greased daily, fixed problems immediately. The tractor had 40,000 hours on it by 83. Original engine. Never rebuilt, just maintained. In 84, David bought another 80 acres, cash, 48,000, owned 160 acres total, mortgage only 8,000 remaining, paid that off in 85, owned 160 acres free and clear at age 30. But David wasn't satisfied. He saw opportunity. Farm crisis was hitting, neighbors were failing, land prices dropping, equipment selling cheap, banks foreclosing. David had capital, had no debt, had discipline. Could buy while others panicked. 86 through 90, David bought 4 more parcels. Total of 320 acres added, paid total of 190,000, all cash, no financing. By 1990, David owned 480 acres, all paid for, no debt, worth approximately 700,000 at market prices. Plus he'd saved 200,000 in cash through extreme frugality and profitable farming. Total net worth age 35, approximately $900,000. Started at 18 with $17, built 900,000 in 17 years. The Oliver, still running, never sold it, never would. That tractor represented everything. His start, his salvation, his success. In 91, something changed. David met Sarah at church. She was 32, divorced. One daughter, age 8. David had avoided relationships, didn't trust people, didn't want connections. The Oliver and farming were enough. But Sarah was different, kind, patient, understood quiet people, didn't push. They married in 92. Sarah and her daughter Emma moved to David's farm. David had lived in the original farmhouse from 79. Small, run down, never updated it. Sarah changed that. David, we have $900,000. We can afford to make this house livable. They spent $30,000 remodeling. First money David had ever spent on himself. Felt wasteful. But Sarah was right. They needed proper home. Emma brought joy David didn't know existed. She loved the farm, loved the animals, loved riding in the Oliver. "Daddy David, tell me about the Oliver again," David would tell her. About being kicked out at 18, about Bill Henderson, about buying the Oliver for $200, about rebuilding it, about using it to farm his first 80 acres, about keeping it running for 18 years. "The Oliver saved my life, Emma. When I had nothing, I had that tractor. It worked when I needed it. Never quit on me. I'll never sell it." In 93, David made a decision. He'd built wealth, but he'd built it alone, keeping everything to himself. Maybe it was time to give back. A young man showed up at David's farm, age 19, looked rough, desperate. "Sir, I'm looking for work. Any kind of work. I'll do anything." David saw himself at 18. "What's your story?" "Got kicked out 2 months ago. Been bouncing around. Need steady work. Need a chance." David hired him. $40 a week, same as Bill had paid David, plus room in the fixed-up bunkhouse, plus meals. The young man's name was Marcus. Worked hard, never complained, reminded David of himself. Over 93 through 95, David hired 4 more young men, all in similar situations, kicked out, desperate, needing chances. David taught them farming, mechanics, equipment maintenance, business management, everything Bill had taught him. 3 of the 5 eventually left to start their own operations. David helped them, loaned money interest-free, gave advice, supported them. 2 stayed and became permanent employees. David paid them well, treated them fairly. By 2000, David's operation had grown to 800 acres, employed 7 people, generated $300,000 annual profit. The Oliver, still on the farm, still running. David used it for light work, moving wagons, hauling equipment. The tractor had over 60,000 hours, original engine, original transmission, just maintained fanatically. In 2003, David turned 48, decided to start teaching farming courses, free courses for young people interested in agriculture. He taught equipment maintenance. This Oliver is 51 years old, over 60,000 hours, never been rebuilt, just maintained. That's the secret. Take care of equipment and it lasts forever. He taught financial discipline. I started with $17, saved aggressively for 30 years, built millions. You can too. Just spend less than you earn every single year, no exceptions. He taught business strategy. Buy when others panic. Sell when others celebrate. Counter-cyclical investing builds wealth. Hundreds of young people took David's courses over 10 years. Many started successful farming operations. They credited David with teaching them everything. In 2008, economic crisis hit. David had lived through farm crisis in 80s, knew what to do, bought more land, 320 acres at discount prices. Total investment, 380,000 cash, owned 1,100 acres total. In 2010, David retired from active farming, age 55, turned day-to-day operations over to his 2 long-term employees, made them partners, gave them equity. David and Sarah traveled. First vacation David had ever taken. Saw the country, enjoyed life, but David kept the Oliver. I'm retired, but the Oliver's not. That tractor works until it physically can't anymore. In 2015, David donated the Oliver to Agricultural Museum, with conditions. You can display it, but once a year you start it up and run it, keep it alive. This tractor saved my life. It deserves to be honored. Museum agreed. The Oliver sits in climate-controlled display. Placard tells David's story. 1952, Oliver 70. Bought for $200 in 1973 by 18-year-old David Morgan, who'd just been kicked out by his father. This tractor became the foundation for a multi-million-dollar farming operation. Over 63,000 hours. Original engine, never rebuilt, just maintained. Represents what's possible when you start with almost nothing and refuse to quit. Visitors read the story. Many cry. Parents bring children. See, you can start with nothing and build something if you work hard enough. In 2020, David turned 65. Sold his farming operation, 1,100 acres, equipment, everything except the Oliver. Sale price, $4.2 million. David had started at 18 with $17, ended at 65 with over $4 million. The Oliver Museum keeps it running, starts it every year on June 7th, anniversary of the day David was kicked out. Anniversary of the day that changed everything. At the 2020 ceremony, David spoke to the crowd. 47 years ago today, my father kicked me out. I stood on his porch with $17 and 2 garbage bags. No hope, no future, no family. I walked 3 miles and met a man named Bill Henderson who changed my life, gave me a job, loaned me money to buy this Oliver, taught me farming, treated me like a son. This tractor became my life. I rebuilt it, learned mechanics, used it to farm my first 80 acres, maintained it for 47 years. It never quit on me. That's the lesson. When you have nothing, one asset maintained properly can change everything. The Oliver was my asset. I took care of it. It took care of me. Start where you are. Use what you have. Work harder than everyone else. Save more than seems possible. Build slowly. Stay disciplined. I did that for 47 years. Started with $17, ended with $4 million. Not through luck. Through discipline and refusing to quit. The Oliver represents that journey from nothing to something, from kicked out to successful, from desperate to secure. If you're 18 and desperate, know this. It gets better. Find your Oliver. That one thing you can leverage, maintain it, use it, build with it. I found mine. You can find yours. Start where you are. Build from there. Never quit. Standing ovation. 10 minutes. Everyone knew someone who'd been kicked out, or struggled, or started with nothing. David proved it was possible. Build from zero, reach millions. Just takes discipline and refusing to quit. The Oliver still runs, 68 years old, original engine, over 63,000 hours, testament to what proper maintenance achieves. David's story lives forever. Kicked out at 18, bought Oliver for $200, built multi-million-dollar operation, helped dozens of young people, changed hundreds of lives. All because he bought one tractor for $200 and maintained it for 47 years. The tractor that saved his life. The tractor that changed everything. That's David Morgan's story. That's the Oliver 70. That's what happens when you start with nothing and build with discipline. Kicked out, broke, desperate, bought a tractor, changed everything. The 18 years of hell. What led to being kicked out? To understand David Morgan's transformation, you need to understand what he escaped. The 18 years before being kicked out shaped everything that came after. David's mother, Rebecca, died when David was 3 years old. Car accident. Drunk driver hit her. She died instantly. January 9th, 1958. David's father, Thomas Morgan, was never the same. Turned to alcohol immediately. Whiskey, beer, whatever numbed the pain. The drinking started as coping mechanism, became addiction. By time David was 5, Thomas was drunk more often than sober. David's earliest memories: father passed out on couch, bottles everywhere, house smelling like alcohol and despair, learning to be quiet so he didn't wake sleeping father. School was escape. David went early, stayed late, did homework in library rather than going home. Teachers noticed but didn't intervene. Different era. Family problems stayed private. The physical abuse started when David was 7. Thomas came home drunk. David had left toys in living room. Thomas exploded, beat David with belt, 20 strikes. David couldn't sit for a week. After that, beatings became regular. Any excuse: dishes not done, grades not perfect, being too loud, being too quiet, looking at father wrong, not looking at father enough. David learned survival strategies. Stay quiet, stay out of sight, do chores perfectly, never argue, never cry where father could see, never show weakness. By age 10, David was essentially running the household, cooking, cleaning, shopping, paying bills with money father left, maintaining the house, all while going to school and avoiding beatings. Teachers asked questions. "David, are you okay at home?" David always lied. "Yes, ma'am, everything's fine." Why lie? Because truth meant foster care. Foster care meant uncertainty. Home was hell, but it was familiar hell. David could manage it. Barely, but he could manage. High school years were worst. Thomas's drinking intensified, lost his job at factory in 71. Survived on unemployment, then disability, drank away most of the money. David got job at 16, grocery store, stocking shelves, 20 hours weekly, $8 total weekly wage, gave father 5, kept 3 for himself. Saved it religiously. By age 18, David had saved $240 from 2 years of work, hid it in his bedroom, planned to use it to leave after graduation. Graduation day, June 5th, 1973. David walked across stage, got diploma, no family watching. Thomas was home drunk. David came home with diploma, showed Thomas. "I graduated, top 30% of my class." Thomas didn't look up from TV. "So what? You think you're special? You're nothing. Just like your mother, worthless." David went to his room, packed his belongings, 2 garbage bags worth, everything he owned. Was planning to leave the next morning, but that night Thomas came to David's room, drunk, angry, found David packing. "You think you're leaving? Who said you could leave? I'm 18, I can leave legally." "Not my house, my rules. You stay until I say you go." "I'm leaving tomorrow whether you like it or not." Thomas exploded. Hit David. David fought back for first time ever. 18 years of beatings, 18 years of rage, all came out. Father and son fought for 5 minutes. David was younger, stronger, sober, won the fight. Thomas ended up on floor bleeding from nose. David grabbed his 2 bags, headed for door. Thomas yelled after him, "You walk out, you're dead to me. Don't ever come back." David walked out, heard the door slam, heard the lock click, stood on the porch, realized he had nowhere to go. His secret savings, $223 left at home in hiding spot. Couldn't go back to get it. Father would kill him. David had $17 in his wallet. That was it. Everything else was locked inside that house forever. He walked away, never looked back, never saw his father again. Thomas Morgan died alone in that house in 1989. Liver failure, age 59. Nobody at his funeral except the preacher. David didn't attend. Found out 3 months later. Felt nothing. That man stopped being his father long before David left. The first 3 months, survival before the Oliver. The 3 miles David walked from his father's house to the Peterson auction were the longest of his life. Every step was freedom. Every step was terror. Free from abuse, but free into nothing. David had walked this road hundreds of times, knew every house, knew which families were kind, which were suspicious, where to avoid. He'd walked past Peterson Farm many times. Old man Peterson had waved occasionally, polite. Nothing more. Now Peterson was dead, estate auction, everything being sold, end of an era. David arrived at the auction at 10:47 a.m. Auction had started at 9. Was about half finished. He stood at the edge, watched. Didn't have money to buy anything, just watched because he had nowhere else to go. That's when Bill Henderson approached. Changed David's life with simple question. "You looking to buy something, son?" Bill was 71 years old, 6'2", still strong despite age. White hair, weathered face, kind eyes. Bill had been farming since 1928, 45 years, seen depression, seen war, seen boom and bust, seen it all. He recognized desperation when he saw it. David had that look, lost, alone, trying to appear okay while falling apart inside. "What's your name?" "David Morgan." "Tom Morgan's boy?" "Yes, sir." David waited for judgment. Everyone in county knew Thomas was drunk. "I knew your mother. Rebecca was good woman, sweet, kind. I was sorry when she passed." First person who'd mentioned David's mother in years. David felt tears coming, fought them back. "Thank you, sir." "You got family you can stay with?" "No, sir. It's just me." Bill saw the 2 garbage bags. The clothes David wore, same ones from graduation 2 days ago. The exhaustion, the desperation trying to look like confidence. "I need a farmhand. $40 a week plus room and meals. You interested?" David almost cried with relief. "Yes, sir, very interested." "Good. Watch the auction. See if anything sells cheap. I'll be back." When David bid on the Oliver, he wasn't thinking rationally, was thinking emotionally. That tractor was about his size, old, beat up, rejected. Nobody wanted it. David identified with it, saw himself in that tractor. Both cast off, both seen as worthless, both capable of more than people thought. The bid was irrational, had $17, bid $200, made no sense. But Bill understood, saw what David saw. That's why he loaned the money. Wasn't about the tractor, was about giving David something to build on, something to care for, something that was his. The relationship. Bill Henderson as father figure. Bill Henderson never had children. Wife died in 1949, never remarried, farmed alone for 24 years before hiring David. Bill saw in David what David couldn't see in himself. Potential, intelligence, work ethic, loyalty, all buried under trauma, but present. First week, David worked 16 hours daily, trying to prove worth, terrified of being sent away. Bill noticed. "David, you're working too hard." 40-hour weeks, that's the deal. You're doing 60. I want to prove I can do this. You've already proved it. Slow down, you'll burn out. I can't slow down. What if you decide I'm not worth keeping? Bill understood then. David had been conditional his entire life. Love was conditional. Safety was conditional. Everything was conditional on perfect behavior. Son, listen to me. You've got this job as long as you want it. You're doing fine, better than fine. You can relax. David didn't believe him. Took months before David relaxed even slightly. Bill taught David more than farming. Taught him to trust, to believe in himself. To understand he had value beyond productivity. Evening meals were important. Bill insisted they eat dinner together. Talk, not about work, about life, books, ideas, future. What do you want to do with your life, David? I don't know. Never thought about it, just wanted to survive. Well, you've survived. Now what? That question haunted David. He'd been so focused on escaping, never thought about building towards something. I like farming, like working with equipment, like seeing things grow. Then be a farmer. Good ones make good living. More importantly, good life, working land, building something that's meaningful. Bill became the father Thomas never was, taught David how men should act, how to handle anger without violence, how to drink responsibly. Bill had 2 beers on Saturday nights, never more. How to treat people with respect. How to build rather than destroy. When Bill got sick in '79, David was devastated. The only person who'd ever believed in him was dying. Bill, what do I do without you? Same thing you've been doing. Work hard, save money, build good life. You don't need me. You never did. You've got everything inside you already. I just helped you see it. You saved my life. No, you saved your own life. I just gave you a chance. You did everything else. Remember that. Bill's death left hole in David's life, but Bill's lessons stayed. Everything David built after '79 was built on foundation Bill created. The rebuilding. 3 months that changed everything. The Oliver 70 was manufactured in 1952 by Oliver Corporation, farm equipment manufacturer based in South Bend, Indiana. Specifications: 4-cylinder engine, 35 horsepower, 6 forward gears, 2 reverse, manual transmission, gasoline engine, weighed approximately 4,000 pounds, designed for small to medium farms. By 1973, when David bought it, the tractor was 21 years old, had probably logged 15 to 20,000 hours. Was tired. Previous owner, Peterson Estate, had used it as backup tractor for 10 years. Maintained minimally. Ran it when main tractors were busy, otherwise sat outside. When David and Bill brought the Oliver to Bill's farm, they did complete assessment. Engine running but rough, smoked on startup, oil pressure low, leaked oil from multiple seals, needed work. Transmission, shifted okay but grinding in 3rd gear. Synchro worn, needed rebuild eventually. Hydraulics, leaked from multiple fittings, barely lifted implements, pump weak, lines cracked, electrical, lights didn't work. Starter worked intermittently. Wiring corroded, complete rewire needed. Tires, worn to threads, dry rot, would blow out under heavy use. Sheet metal, dented, rusty, 1 fender missing, paint faded to almost white in places, seat, torn, springs poking through. Uncomfortable. Most people would have scrapped it. Bill saw teaching opportunity. David, we're going to rebuild this tractor completely. Take 3 months. You're going to learn how every system works. When we're done, you'll be able to fix any tractor you encounter. This is your education. Week 1. Complete disassembly. David and Bill removed every panel, every cover, exposed every system. David took notes, drew diagrams. Week 2 through 4, engine work. Removed engine from tractor, disassembled completely. They found pistons worn, compression down to 80 psi from spec of 120, bearings worn, copper showing through, valves carboned up, seats pitted. Oil pump worn, not generating pressure. Bill taught David how to evaluate each part. This piston is beyond spec, needs replacement. This bearing has life left, can reuse. They ordered parts, new pistons, rings, bearings, valves, oil pump, gaskets. Total cost, $87. Bill showed David how to measure clearances, how to torque bolts properly, how to set valve lash, how to assemble engines correctly. You can't guess on tolerances. Guess wrong, engine fails. You measure. You follow spec, you do it right. David learned precision, patience, attention to detail. Week 5 through 6, transmission rebuild, pulled transmission, disassembled. Third gear synchro was worn badly, other gears okay. Replace synchro and damaged components. Reassembled carefully. Week 7 through 8, hydraulics. Replaced pump, replaced all lines, rebuilt lift cylinder. System like new. Week 9, electrical, complete rewire, new harness, new lights, new switches. Modern components replacing 1952 originals. Week 10, sheet metal and cosmetics, straightened dents, fixed rust, replaced missing fender with salvaged part from junkyard, $12. Painted? No. David wanted to paint it. Bill said no. Leave it ugly. You'll learn important lesson. People judge by appearance. This tractor will look terrible but run perfectly. Proves appearance means nothing. Function is everything. Week 11, reassembly. Every part cleaned. Every bolt torqued. Every system tested. Week 12, testing. Fired engine ran perfectly smooth, quiet, oil pressure perfect, temperature stable, shifted through all gears, no grinding, smooth transitions, hydraulics lifted implements easily, powerful, responsive, electrical worked perfectly, lights bright, starter strong. The Oliver looked terrible but ran like new. Better than new. Modern parts, proper assembly, perfect tuning. Total invested, 200 purchase plus 147 parts equals $347 total. Comparable rebuilt tractor from dealer, $800 to $1,000. David learned valuable lesson. You can rebuild anything if you have knowledge, patience, and time. Professional rebuilds are expensive because of labor. DIY rebuilds are cheap because you provide the labor. That lesson shaped David's entire approach to farming. He fixed everything himself. Never paid for repairs he could do. Saved thousands over decades. The first year. Farming, 80 acres and dreams. May 19th, 79. David drove the Oliver onto his own land for first time. 80 acres. His farm. The property was rough. House built in 1938. Small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kitchen, living room, maybe 900 square feet total. Previous owner let it deteriorate. Roof leaked, plumbing leaked. Electrical was sketchy. Windows were single pane from 30s. David could have fixed it. Knew how, chose not to. Why spend money on comfort when you could invest in operation? He fixed the leak, causing immediate damage, otherwise left it alone. House was shelter. That was enough. The land was better. 80 acres of fertile Illinois soil, black dirt, deep. Previous owner had farmed it poorly, but potential was there. David's operating capital, $21,000. After $18,000 down payment and $18,000 financed, had $21,000 for operating costs. Budget for year 1. Seed, $1,200. Fertilizer, $1,600. Chemicals, $800. Fuel, $1,000. Maintenance, $600. Debt service, $3,840. Living expenses, $2,000. Reserve, $11,000. David planted 40 acres of corn, 40 acres of soybeans. Did all work himself with the Oliver. Plowing, 2 weeks. Oliver pulled 2 bottom plow, 8 hours daily, turned all 80 acres. Disking 1 week, 10-foot disc, prepared seedbed. Planting 4 days. 4-row planter borrowed from neighbor. Deal was David would plant neighbor's ground in exchange for planter use. Cultivation 2 weeks. 4-row cultivator. Controlled weeds. Harvest 3 weeks. Borrowed combine from same neighbor. Same deal. David combined neighbor's crop in exchange for use. Yields. Corn 40 acres times 130 bushels equals 5,200 bushels. Soybeans 40 acres times 42 bushels equals 1,680 bushels. Prices. Corn $2.40 per bushel equals $12,480. Soybeans $6.50 per bushel equals $10,920. Gross income $23,400. Operating costs $6,200. Debt service $3,840. Total costs $10,040. Net $13,360. David lived on $2,000. Saved $11,360. Added to remaining $21,000 from before equals $32,360 total saved. Year 1 was success. David proved he could do it, farm profitably, live cheaply, build capital. But year 1 was also lonely. David worked alone every day, ate alone every night, slept alone, talked to almost nobody except when necessary for business. He was 24 years old. Most people his age were socializing, dating, building friendships, building lives. David was building a farm. That was enough. Had to be enough. Couldn't risk relationships. Relationships meant vulnerability. Vulnerability meant pain. Better to be alone. Safer to be alone. The Oliver was enough company. The building years, 79 through 85. Year 2 through 6 followed similar pattern. David farmed his 80 acres, lived minimally, saved maximally. Annual breakdown averaged. Gross income $24,000, operating costs $6,500. Debt service dropping as mortgage paid down. Living expenses $2,000, savings $15,000 annually average. By end of 83, David had saved $62,000 plus paid mortgage to $8,000 remaining. But more importantly, David had become expert farmer. 6 years of daily practice. Everything learned through doing. He knew his land intimately. Which spots held moisture, which drained fast, which needed extra fertilizer, which had pest problems. He knew his equipment perfectly. The Oliver had logged over 40,000 hours. David knew every sound, every vibration, could diagnose problems instantly. He knew markets, watched prices daily, understood seasonality, knew when to sell, when to store, when to forward contract. He knew himself, knew his capabilities, knew his limits, knew what he could achieve alone. That self-knowledge prepared him for the crisis years. 84 through 90, when everything collapsed. Farm crisis hit David differently than most. He had no debt after 85, owned his land free and clear, had 60,000 in savings. When land prices collapsed from 2,000 per acre to 800, David didn't panic. He bought. The math was simple. Land producing $150 per acre net income. At 2,000 per acre, that's 7.5% return. At 800 per acre, that's 18.7% return. At 800, land was bargain. David knew it. Others panicked. He bought. 86. Bought 80 acres adjoining his property. 800 per acre. 64,000 cash. Owned 160 total. 87. Bought another 80 acres. $750 per acre, 60,000 cash. Owned 240 total. 88 bought 160 acres, 700 per acre, 112,000 cash. Owned 400 total. By 88, David had deployed all his savings, owned 400 acres free and clear, 0 cash reserves. Everything invested in land. Risky? Absolutely. If prices kept dropping or emergency happened, David was vulnerable. But David believed land was ultimate security. Can't print more land. Population growing. Food demand increasing. Long-term, land always appreciates. He was right. By 92, land prices recovered to $1,300 per acre. David's 400 acres worth $520,000. He'd paid $260,000. Gained $260,000 in equity in 4 years, plus he'd been farming it profitably, generated roughly $60,000 annually net income from 400 acres. 4 years times $60,000 equals $240,000 earned. Total gain, 88 through 92, $500,000, $260 from appreciation, $240 from farming income. David was 37. Net worth approximately $750,000, all built from $17 at age 18. The marriage. Sarah changes everything. David met Sarah at church in April 91. He'd started attending in 90, felt like he should be part of community, went out of obligation, not faith. Sarah attended regularly, sat 3 rows ahead. David noticed her, couldn't not notice. She had presence, quiet strength, resilience. They met at coffee hour after service, literal 2-minute conversation, polite, superficial. But David thought about her all week, which was unusual. David never thought about people, thought about farming, equipment, markets, not people. Next Sunday, he deliberately arrived early, positioned himself to encounter Sarah. She came in with her daughter, Emma, age 8. Sweet kid. Good morning, Sarah. Good morning, David. This is my daughter, Emma. Hi, Emma. I'm David. Emma smiled. Hi, you're the farmer guy, right? Mommy said you farm. That's right. I farm. Do you have animals? No animals, just corn and soybeans. Emma looked disappointed. Oh, that's boring. Sarah was mortified. Emma, that's rude. David laughed. First genuine laugh in years. She's right. Corn and soybeans are boring compared to animals, but they pay the bills. That interaction broke the ice. David and Sarah talked after service, talked about farming, about Emma, about life. Sarah's story, married young, age 19. Husband was abusive, verbally, emotionally, sometimes physically. Sarah stayed for 8 years, finally left in 89. Divorced, single mother, working as bookkeeper, making $28,000 annually. Struggling but managing, she and David had abuse in common, different forms, same trauma, same scars. They started talking regularly, after church, then phone calls during week, then actual dates. David was terrified, hadn't been close to anyone except Bill, didn't know how to be vulnerable, didn't trust easily. Sarah was patient. David, I'm not going to hurt you. I know you've been hurt. So have I. We can take this slow. They dated for 11 months before David proposed. Simple proposal, no fanfare. Sarah, I love you. I love Emma. I want you to be my family. Will you marry me? Yes. They married, small ceremony, September 92. 20 people, church basement, cake and punch. Nothing fancy. Sarah and Emma moved to David's farm, the farmhouse David had neglected for 13 years. Sarah walked through it, saw the leaking ceiling, the ancient appliances, the cracked linoleum, the drafty windows. David, we need to fix this house. It's functional. It's falling apart. We have a daughter. We need safe, comfortable home. David resisted. Spending money on house felt wasteful. Houses don't generate income. Land generates income. Equipment generates income. Houses just sit there. But Sarah was right. They couldn't raise Emma in falling apart house. They spent $30,000 remodeling, new roof, new windows, new kitchen, new bathroom, fixed everything. It hurt David to spend that money, physically hurt. Every dollar on the house was dollar, not building farm, but result was worth it. House became home, warm, safe, comfortable. Emma thrived, loved farm life, helped David with small tasks. Rode in the Oliver, collected eggs from neighbors who had chickens. Sarah managed the books, took over David's primitive record-keeping, organized everything, freed David to focus on farming. Marriage changed David, softened him, made him realize life was more than building wealth, was about building family, building relationships, building meaning. He still worked hard, still saved aggressively, but enjoyed life more, laughed more, connected more. The Oliver sat in the machine shed, still running, still maintained, but used less. David had newer equipment now, bigger tractors. The Oliver handled light work, but David would never sell it. Sarah understood why. That tractor represents your survival, your transformation. It stays forever. The mentorship years, paying it forward. In '93, young man named Marcus showed up at David's farm, age 19, looking for work. David saw himself, same desperation, same quiet determination, same need for chance. "What's your story, Marcus?" "Got kicked out 6 months ago, been working odd jobs, living in my car, need steady work, need to build something." David hired him immediately. Same deal Bill gave David, $40 weekly, room in bunkhouse, meals, chance to build. Marcus proved himself, worked hard, learned fast, never complained. After 6 months, David sat Marcus down. "You've proven yourself. I'm giving you raise to 60 weekly, plus I'm teaching you farm management. If you want to farm someday, I'll help you get started." Marcus couldn't believe it. "Why would you do that?" "Because someone did it for me. Man named Bill Henderson. He gave me a chance when nobody else would. I'm paying that forward." Marcus stayed 2 years, learned everything David taught, saved money aggressively. In '95, Marcus was ready to start his own operation. Had saved $4,800, found 40 acres for sale, asking $32,000. Marcus didn't qualify for loan, no credit history, no collateral. David loaned him $10,000, interest-free. "Pay me back when you can, no rush, build your operation first." Marcus bought the 40 acres, started farming, struggled first few years but succeeded eventually. Paid David back in 2000, full 10,000, plus 2,000 extra as thank you. David didn't want the extra. Marcus insisted. "You changed my life. 2,000 is nothing compared to what you gave me." David took the 2,000, put it in fund, mentorship fund for the next person who needs help. Over 93 through 2010, David helped 17 young people total. Some were employees who stayed long-term. Others came, learned, left to start own operations. David's requirements were simple. Work hard, don't complain, learn everything, save money, build towards something. Those who met requirements got help, interest-free loans, business advice, emotional support. Connections in farming community. Of 17 people David helped, 14 succeeded long-term. Owned farms, built wealth, raised families. 3 failed for various reasons. Couldn't maintain discipline, made bad decisions, gave up. David didn't judge failures. Not everyone can do this. It requires specific personality, specific discipline. If you don't have it, that's okay. Better to find out early. The 14 who succeeded credited David with changing their lives. Several named children after him. One named his farm Morgan Acres after David. At David's 65th birthday party in 2020, all 14 attended. Brought their families, celebrated the man who'd helped them. Marcus spoke for the group. "David Morgan saved my life in '93, gave me job when I was living in my car, taught me farming, loaned me money to start, never asked for anything in return except that I work hard and pay it forward. I've done that. Helped 3 young farmers myself. They're helping others." The chain continues. That's David's real legacy, not the 4 million from farm sale. The lives changed, the families built, the cycle of mentorship that continues. We're all here because David saw himself in us, gave us chances nobody else would. We'll never forget. We'll keep paying it forward. That's how we honor him. Standing ovation, everyone crying. David most of all. He'd been kicked out at 18 with $17. Built millions, but the real wealth was the lives he'd changed, the young people he'd saved from despair. That was worth more than money. That was legacy. The Oliver's final years, 63,000 hours. By 2015, the Oliver 70 was 63 years old, had logged over 63,000 hours, original engine, original transmission, just maintained religiously. David still ran it occasionally, light work, moving wagons, hauling small loads, sentimental use as much as practical. Every year on June 7th, anniversary of being kicked out, David started the Oliver, ran it for hour, remembered where he came from, remembered Bill, remembered the journey. In 2015, Agricultural Museum contacted David. They'd heard about the Oliver, wanted to display it. Mr. Morgan, this tractor represents something important, survival, transformation, building from nothing. We'd love to share that story. David hesitated. The Oliver was personal, private, his connection to his past, but Sarah encouraged him. David, your story helps people. The Oliver helps them understand. Let it teach. David agreed with conditions. Museum can display it, but you maintain it. Start it regularly, keep it alive. This tractor isn't decoration, it's working equipment that happens to be in museum. Museum agreed enthusiastically. Built special climate-controlled display, temperature-controlled, humidity-controlled, perfect preservation conditions. But every June 7th, they roll the Oliver outside. Start it, run it, let it work like it was built to do. The placard tells full story. 1952. Oliver 70. This tractor was purchased for $200 in June 1973 by 18-year-old David Morgan. David had been kicked out by his abusive father that morning with $17 in his pocket. A farmer named Bill Henderson loaned David the money to buy this Oliver. David and Bill spent 3 months rebuilding it completely. David learned mechanics, farming, business, life skills. David used this Oliver to farm his first 80 acres starting in 1979, maintained it fanatically for 42 years, over 63,000 hours, original engine never rebuilt, original transmission never replaced, just maintained. This tractor became foundation for multi-million-dollar farming operation. More importantly, it represents what's possible when you start with almost nothing and refuse to quit. David Morgan started with $17, built operation worth $4.2 million by retirement, helped 17 young people start their own farms, changed hundreds of lives, all because he bought this Oliver for $200 and maintained it for 42 years. This is what determination looks like. This is what discipline achieves. This is proof that starting with nothing doesn't mean ending with nothing. The Oliver 70, kicked out, bought cheap, changed everything. Visitors read the story. Many cry. Parents bring children. See what's possible when you don't give up? The Oliver sits there. Silent testament to transformation. From $17 to millions. From kicked out to successful. From alone to building family and community. One tractor, 68 years old. 63,000 hours, still running, still teaching, still inspiring. That's the power of the Oliver 70. That's the legacy of David Morgan. That's what happens when you start with nothing and build with discipline. Kicked out at 18, bought Oliver for $200, changed everything, the story that never gets old, the tractor that never quits. The lesson that lives forever, from nothing to something. That's the journey, that's the proof, that's the Oliver.